Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing great, Josh. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. Thank you so much for
Okay.
joining me today.
Oh my gosh, thanks for the invite, bud. I'm excited.
Yeah, totally. Happy Wednesday and happy almost end of school year. I keep saying that and it keeps
Woo!
making me more and more excited.
Which you should be because you're graduating, right? And that's
Yes, I am.
exciting. Congrats.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, I'm pretty pumped. It's almost over.
Yeah, you're almost there. Almost there. I'm sending you all of the graduating seniors and students hustling. I'm sending you all positive vibes.
Awesome, thank you. Why don't we just get started? I'll just quickly introduce myself, and then if you want to introduce yourself, and then we had a couple questions come in from our live question and answer. And as questions come in while we're live together, I'll be asking them as well. But
That's
I'm really
good.
pumped. So, hey everyone, my name is Josh. I'm a grad student, a graduating graduate student in the Ross School of Business, and I'm super excited to just be here with you today. So, if you want to introduce yourself, we can get right started.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is Joelle from Darrell Randall. I use she, her pronouns, and I have the opportunity to work at the University Career Center as a career coach. So, really excited to talk to you all today and help you as you're exploring potentially different career options to job searching. So,
Awesome. Cool. Thanks so much.
yeah.
So the first question we had really was just about the general services that the Career Center offers.
Yeah.
This is my fifth year here, and I was a campus day leader and an orientation leader. So, I mean, I've been to the Career Center a bunch.
Yeah.
We all share the same building. But for
Yeah.
people that may not know where it is or what it is, can you share a bit about that?
Yeah, so we're located in the Student Activities Building. So I think that's always nice to know where we're physically located on the third floor. So come and visit us. We love when folks just pop in. But we do a variety of things. So we work with first year students all the way to PhD students. So that's a fun fact for you all. And our services kind of range. I personally love our one-on-one coaching, which can really range. So if you're like just getting started with like, I'm not sure where to start for a career, we do exploration appointments. We also help students if they're thinking beyond the classroom. So if you're thinking about medical school, health law, graduate school, also job searching and what are some strategies. Also, it's okay to take a gap year if you're thinking about that as well. And so we do interview tips, mock interviews, and then it's also exciting if you get an offer, but have you ever negotiated, right? Like that is intimidating, right? Like I remember the first time I did it. So we help students do that as well. So really those one-on-one coaching opportunities are for students to meet some of our career coaches and really dive deeper and get that one-on-one support. So those are some things. And then we also do some programming. So if you like more group experiences, we have resume labs, internship labs, and job search labs where you're in a group and you like get to work. And then sometimes we have other programs that can really range. Like one of my favorites that I've done with one of my colleagues is identifying a company's organizational culture with a DEI lens. So we do a variety of things. So I feel like I was talking a lot. So we do a lot of things and we serve all students because we are the centralized office here at the lovely University of Michigan.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. From a student perspective, I have utilized the Career Center
Yay!
all throughout college. From freshman year, I remember pretty vividly walking in, feeling really good about my resume that I took from high school, my resume. And it was like 3 pages long
Oh, yeah.
for no reason, And the person, I had a one-on-one kind of, what would you calling it? A one-on-one
One coaching appointment. Yeah. Yeah.
coaching appointment. Yeah, we sat down together, and she was like, "Yeah, like this is great, but let's switch some things up."
It's
And now it's
always,
1 page, like it should be. But
yay.
yeah, I've really enjoyed the Career Center's services and all of the help that they've been able to do. So yeah, you all do amazing work, and I can't promote that enough for any of the incoming students that are going to be watching now, coming in the fall, or any students that are currently here. Great
Oh,
place.
kind that we are grateful for your positive words. And also it's very common for students to for their first time resume review, it's like, oh, I didn't know those key aspects, so we're here to help you.
Yeah, and I guess I'm on a similar vein, like speaking about resumes and maybe in cover letters too. Do you
Yeah.
have any like tricks of the trade, any things that can really make those pieces shine?
Yeah, I think personally, let's start with the resume. I think my personal favorite when coaching students is developing their bullet points. I think it's nice to have a lovely format, but really the employers value the content and learning more about what skills did you develop during either your academic experiences or if you had internships or research experience. So really focusing on the Bullet Plus model. And on our website, if you just go to careercenter.umich.edu, we have a whole resource guide around your resume. And also, if I know some students are hustling and I am an early bird, I will go to bed at 9 o'clock. But if you're like working on your resume at 1 a.m., that's okay. We got you covered. We have something called VMOC where you can upload your resume and get instant resume feedback. Isn't that a beautiful thing? So
Yeah.
the one thing I would say though, to really stand out is to have strong bullet points. And we have like a little formula that you can kind of plug and play. And then once you did your draft, you can upload it and have it reviewed. And if you're up at 1 a.m., you can do that. Or if you're up at like normal times like me, you can always schedule a time to meet with a coach as well.
Awesome. One of the live questions that we had come in was just about the services. And I just wanted to reiterate something that you mentioned earlier. It was saying whether or not freshmen could use this service. And I mean, I mentioned that I used it freshman year, and if you want to add on to that, feel free.
Yeah, first year students, it is never too early to utilize the University Career Center. And so whether it's just getting started with your resume or cover letter, or if you're not sure what you want to do, that's okay. That's a healthy part of college to explore all the wonderful opportunities. And so those are my favorite appointments, to meet with students one-on-one that aren't really sure, and then just kind of coach them through that. And sometimes I'll meet them their sophomore year, junior year. I'm not going anywhere. Our team's not going anywhere. We're here to really help you through the whole process during your college career and beyond, because we serve alumni 18 months outside of graduation. Fun fact for you, because you're about to graduate. And I know the other part of your first question was like cover letter, just like things to think about. And I think it's really looking at the job description and identifying some of those key responsibilities that you can expand upon in your cover letter. So you don't have to regurgitate or share the same things on your resume, but really you get that opportunity to dive deeper and kind of share your story to the employers. And we have some tips on that as well. Lettersmith is a really helpful tool where you can kind of plug and play. This is new too, Josh. So this might be new for you, but you can kind of plug and play different aspects, like what do you put in your first paragraph, and it kind of coaches you, and then you can save it, you can send it to folks for feedback. So really helpful tools for you all to expand your knowledge of cover letters, because I do think that's one students are like, I've never wrote one, like where do I get started? But we got you.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I guess just building on everything that we would need a cover letter or a resume for the interview, right? What are some important aspects of interviewing? I know that you mentioned earlier we do mock interviews at the Career Center. I've utilized them. They are also great. Practice makes perfect. So I definitely would bump those as well. But yeah, do you want to talk about just interviewing?
Yeah, I think when you're interviewing, something that is important to think about is the employer just wants to get to know you as an individual. So reflecting on some of your past experiences before going into the interview, I think is really helpful. So you've submitted your job search documents. So re-looking at your resume and what you wrote in your cover letter all helps you reflect on your story. But then during the interview, this is your opportunity to really go deeper, and your responses might range between 2 to 3 minutes. And so I really like the STAR model when they ask you behavioral based questions. And what I mean by that, Josh, I'm sure you remember in the mock interviews, it's like, tell me about a time you worked on a team, or tell me about a time that you had to deal with conflict. A nice approach is the STAR model. Do you remember it, Josh, by chance?
Oh yeah, it's situation, task, action, result.
Yes, and that exactly. Friends that are watching, Josh nailed it. And so it's a great way to kind of structure your responses, because I think sometimes when they ask you those questions, you're like, how can I actually share the story, but not be too short, but not too be long? So that's a really nice strategy. And I also think one question that you're going to get is, tell me about yourself. So one of my favorite strategies that I use is something from my past, present, and what I hope to do in the future to kind of frame why this position might be a good fit. Other folks have different strategies there, of course, but I think it's helpful because I remember my first time I got that question, I was like, I have a dog. I ride my bike. It was epically horrible. So please don't do that. Like, I think using those structures can really help you feel more confident. And I think an important aspect in the interview is really reflecting, like I mentioned earlier, because then as you reflect, you build your confidence in knowing what you can share to the employer and what's relevant in the skills you have to that could be great for the job.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Interviewing, I like interviewing personally. Maybe
Okay.
that's an unpopular opinion. I just kind of look at it as talking to a stranger about myself, which is kind of fun.
It's telling
So
your story. And Josh, from your personality, I'm getting the vibe you like to chat with folks and like sharing stories. And I think that's really powerful. But I also think it's okay to be nervous for interviews too, because it's natural to get those nerves, and that's a healthy stressor, right? Because you're nervous because you care, right? And so if you're confident, that's great too. But I really appreciate how you're like, I like interviews. It gives you energy, and for some folks it might be a little nerve-wracking, but that's okay because that's healthy. That's part of the process, right? Like, means you care about what you're talking about.
yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And as we're interviewing, when
Yeah.
questions come up that are like, hard, or maybe we have prepared well for the interview itself, but maybe not for that particular question, do you have any tips on what to do when you get a question that you're just not prepared for, and maybe don't even know the answer to?
Yeah, I think that's okay to take a pause. I think if you get a question that you're not sure, I'm going to ask a question to you, Josh, and I'm just going to count and give you some time to think of your response. So, Josh, tell me about a time you went above and beyond for a student group you're a part of. 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000. It's okay if you don't know the response to gather your thoughts. Like, I always like to actually count it out for students to be like, oh, that's actually a lot of time. But again, when you don't know a question, you get nervous and you're like, it's okay to gather your thoughts. If you don't actually have a good response, say you weren't a part of a student, I'm making this up, Josh, but say you weren't a part of a student organization and you can't think of a time you went above and beyond, it's okay to kind of share, like, if you haven't had that experience, like I haven't had that opportunity because maybe I haven't been a part of student organizations, but a way I would try to go above and beyond would be this. So you explain how you would navigate that. And so I might say, like, I would really, like, for me, let's pretend I was a part of a student organization that was really about community building. I'd really focus on the members and get to know them. And we would expand our membership by recruiting. And here's ways I would recruit folks, but then also recognizing that we have to meet our goals and objectives. This is very vague, right? Because I don't have a tangible example. I haven't been in a student org in a hot second, meaning like probably a long time, like 12 years. But I think it's okay to say how you would navigate those questions, because sometimes there's going to be questions that are tough. And I also think it's okay to name, you are going to get the question, tell me about your weakness. So instead of just being like, oh, I hope I don't get that question, it's better to actually reflect on something that it might be an area of growth, and frame it that way and say how you're working on it, and make sure it's not something detrimental to the job or like you need to be able to do for the job. But being that question, what it's getting at is having you reflect on, am I self-aware to know what I need to develop? And it's okay, because no one is, like, everybody has weaknesses and things that they're developing.
Yeah, you're amazing.
Oh,
100%. I
thanks.
agree with
You're
all of that.
so sweet. Well, so are you. You're graduating and rocking. And if I heard right from one of your colleagues, you graduated last year from undergrad and now graduating from grad school this year. So you've
Yeah.
just been hustling.
Yes, I'm very ready not to be in school anymore.
That, okay. Snaps to
Yeah.
that. That is fair.
Yeah. So for people, that are in my position right now, we're all graduating here in a couple of weeks,
Yeah.
in a job market that may, in some industries, be looking up, and some industries kind of bottoming out. Do you have any advice on how maybe to stay positive, but how to do job searching while, your prospects might not be as good as they were a couple of years ago?
Yeah, totally. I think, well, let's just name it. The pandemic, COVID-19 has changed the world so much, and also the recruiting strategies of how recruiters are engaging. So I think something to prepare for, it's virtual recruiting. So you'll be job searching during the pandemic, but a lot of recruiters have really switched over to virtual connections. So whether that's leveraging going to virtual events that employers are having, whether that's building your network. If you haven't heard of the University Career Alumni Network, it's www.peoplegrove.com, umishpeoplegrove.com. It's a great way to connect with alumni and build your network to learn, like, if this industry, like I know you mentioned, Josh, that there's some industries that have been impacted and some that are not. That's so true. But I think if you start to connect with alumni that are currently in those positions or working within those industries, you can get the inside scoop and kind of reframe your strategy for your job search based on the feedback that you're hearing from them. I also think that there's a lot of great opportunities to expand our network because we are all shifted to this virtual landscape. People are getting familiar with Zoom, Blue Jeans, Instagram lives, you know what I mean? So I do think there's a lot of opportunities for you to kind of shift your approach to more about leaning into the virtual landscape. I also want to name, you're not in this alone. I think this experience, at least for myself, I can say this, sometimes you might feel isolated, but we're here at the University Career Center as a coach to help you with your strategy to job search. So if you're feeling like, hey, I need some extra motivation, or I just need to think about a different strategy, set up a job search appointment where you can get a coach that's really hearing what are your needs, what are some ways or strategies that we can help you kind of move forward in your process. So I think that's a huge thing. It's easy to kind of sit in your own, this is my craft room in my bubble, and be in some of my work alone, but you're not alone. We're here to help you and help through this process. And we know that it's going to be different for each person. So I think dropping in an appointment could be really helpful for students if they're job searching, whether that's for full-time employment or internships too.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
One of the live questions that we had just come in was if the Career Center has any services to help people develop their online presence for like professional social networks like LinkedIn,
Oh, yeah.
like Handshake that we have at U of M, anything like that?
Yes, we do. So we do a coaching for LinkedIn coaching. So I know the first time I made my LinkedIn profile, I'm like, what's endorsements? What are these pieces? So we have some really helpful checklists to help you navigate, like, how do I build my profile? But another key thing is, like, how are you actually using the platform to your advantage? So we'll do some coaching and conversations with students on, this is some really great groups that you could follow to expand your network. Because my big thing is, if you're going to add another social media platform to your lovely portfolio, if you will, you want to know how you can actually use it for your advantage, right? And so that's part of our conversations with the students. So I appreciate that question. I think that's a really great one. And it's fun because we can kind of give you some coaching, like there's headshots, like, should I have anyone in my background? Like, is it distracting? Like, we can help you think through that. You got some great coaches to process that with.
Yeah, absolutely. And then another really awesome question that came in, I think, was concerning the clothing closet, is it called?
Yeah.
Is that
So
still
it's
going on?
the clothes closet. So
Clothes
yes,
closet.
so the clothes closet was operating in the fall, and if folks are in need of some clothes, they can always email our office, and we can kind of work out a time to meet to have them utilize the clothes closet. And so if folks are not familiar with it, you're able to select 3 professional items per semester, and they're free. Did I mention they are free? And all you have to do is just make sure that they're the right fit for you, and then they're yours. And so with the pandemic, though, we have not been taking new inventory in, just because safety is like our #1 priority in health. And so we're not taking new inventory. So that is just something I want to name, because I know sometimes like, how can I donate? I'm like, nope, we're pausing on that. So the University Clothes Closet is still operating. Yes.
Awesome.
To the but smaller capacity.
Yeah, I didn't even know about that until my senior year. One of my friends told me that, oh, I'm going to get my clothes from the Career Center. And I'm like, are you working there, or do you have a uniform you have now?
And I think it's helpful to think, like, when we think of social media, like, that's your professional brand. So is what you're wearing. So is your resume. So I think a nice way to think about it is the University Career Center is helping you build your brand. And so I think that is something that is just helpful to think about in all aspects. And so I think in general, the clothes closet is like pausing on like intense like operations, but if you are in need, you can always contact the Career Center at umich.edu. So
Awesome.
Good question.
Yeah, and one that came, but following that, we're getting a ton of viewer interaction, which is awesome. Just about professional clothing in general. And I think that's pretty subjective, what is and isn't considered professional, but it was asking whether or not professional clothing is required for interviews.
So I think it depends on the culture. Like I have some colleagues that work at startups, and if you wore a blazer, you would be like, they're like, no, that's not our culture. So I think it's okay and appropriate to ask, like, what is the interview attire? So then you know ahead of time, because then you're not assuming.
Hmm.
So the recruiters that you're working with, I personally, you'll notice I'm wearing my blazer today because I know this was like a conversation more of an interview, but there is some really great research that if you'll feel more confident if you are dressed in a way that you feel comfortable. And like there is research that if you wear a suit that you're more likely to feel confident. I know that's true for me, as I'm obviously modeling that right now because I'm like, I'm excited, but I'm also was a little nervous for this conversation, totally be transparent. But I think you want to be comfortable. I would hate for a student or anyone in general to wear something where it's uncomfortable, because the whole time you might be like, oh, I'm so uncomfortable. What was that question? Like really what your story is going to be the most impactful. And I also agree with you, Josh, that interview attire is really based on like what you like can be subjective, but also like you want to be comfortable and confident, because if you're not, that can show up in spaces. You know what I mean? So
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I guess from my experience in interviewing for internships back in the past, and then for my full-time job, I guess I will say every interview I've ever had, the invitation to interview from the HR representative at the company
yeah.
always included a line saying like dress attire. And sometimes it's been business professional where it's a suit and a tie, business casual, you can get by with like a button down and a
Yeah.
tie or a blazer and no tie, you know? So I really think that the people that you'll be interviewing with professionally may give you some insight of what is appropriate to wear. But I mean, you touched on it, we've talked about it. Being comfortable, I think, is most important of all, because you could have a suit and tie on and feel really nervous and really scared. But if you didn't have your tie on, you may be able to breathe better and be able to perform better. So I think that should be taken with a bit of a grain of salt.
Yeah. And also, I think knowing the expectations. I think
Mhm.
sometimes we put expectations on ourselves when really, like, ask the folks. It doesn't hurt to ask questions and learn, right? So, is
Yeah,
there
yeah.
sense?
And then the last question that we had come in a little bit earlier was about an event that the office is holding on April
Oh,
15th.
Oh, April 5th. Yes, thank
Yeah.
you. So we hope that you all save the date on April 15th. We are going to have a University Career Center live panel where you're going to meet other wonderful colleagues from across the university that serve at other university offices, career offices. And so that will be live on April 15th. And you get to meet some of my colleagues that are working in my office, and then some awesome folks that I get to work with that work within different departments or schools and colleges. So, yeah.
Awesome. Yes. Well, I mean, that completes all the questions that we had come in earlier, and we've
Awesome.
answered the ones that were from here today. So if you don't, do you have any last words you'd like to share?
Um, no, not that I can think of. I just hope that you all are taking care of you. And I know it's finals week coming up, so self-care is so important. So whether that's taking a break or catching up with a friend or watching a Netflix show, or I really love to just go for a walk, take time for you. I think that's really important, because self-care is, I think, number one. And our team always asks about that for our students, like making sure you're taking care of you. So, and I just appreciate you, Josh, and I'm sending you positive vibes as you're interviewing and thinking about that next chapter, or if you already have an opportunity, like awesome. So
Yes.
yeah,
Thanks a ton. And thank you so much for your time and
yeah,
joining me today. And I hope you have a wonderful day. It's really beautiful outside, so I hope you
I,
get some fresh air.
I know it's lovely. If you're not in Michigan, folks, it's like 80 degrees, so it's beautiful.
For
All
real. Alrighty.
right,
Have an
take care.
awesome day. Go
You
blue.
too. Go blue. Bye.